Good morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next hour. Second wave of explosion in southern Lebanon, raising fears of wider conflict. Israel declares new phase of war. Ukraine claims Russian advancement in Kursk region has been stopped. President Zelenskiy says victory plan is fully prepared. US Fed cuts interest rates by 0.5 percentage points in a first since 2020, signaling end to its inflation fight. Nature's fury engulfs parts of world. Wildfires in Portugal and Peru wreak havoc. Flood upends normal life across vast swathes in USA, Europe and Africa. India all set to face Bangladesh in Test series in the southern city of Chennai. Visitors yet to register a win in Test against India. A second wave of device explosions killed 20 people and wounded more than 450 others on Wednesday in Hezbollah strongholds in Lebanon. A source close to Hezbollah said walkie-talkies used by its members blew up in its Beirut stronghold, with state media reporting similar blasts in South and East Lebanon. The deadly attacks came a day after the simultaneous explosion of hundreds of paging devices used by Hezbollah killed 12 people, including 2 children, and wounded up to 3,000 others in an unprecedented attack blamed on Israel. While Israeli officials have not commented, security sources claim Israel's spy agency Mossad was behind the attacks. A Hezbollah official described the incident as group's biggest security breach in its history. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said during a visit to an air base that the nation is at the start of a new phase in the war and that the center of gravity is moving northward. US denied prior knowledge for involvement in pager explosions in Lebanon, while White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said that US remains involved in intensive diplomatic efforts to prevent an escalation of the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon.
We want to see the war end. And everything we've been doing since the beginning has been designed to prevent the conflict from escalating. We still believe, for instance, that there is a diplomatic path forward, that particularly up near Lebanon. And we still believe that while it is increasingly difficult, and we are certainly no closer to finality, that we believe a ceasefire deal and a negotiation to get the hostages out is still the best outcome, and we're going to keep pursuing that.
After the deadly devices blast in Lebanon, efforts to avert an all-out war between Hezbollah and Israel are gaining momentum. In view of spiraling tensions in West Asia after the blasts that have left many dead, senior diplomats from the United States, Britain, Germany, France and Italy will meet in Paris today to discuss the issue, according to AFP sources. The meeting will take place as fears grow of an all-out war engulfing the region, with conflict raging in Gaza and after 2 days of exploding pagers and other devices in Lebanon, an unprecedented attack the country's Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group has blamed on Israel. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will join his counterparts after discussing the possibility of a Gaza war truce in Cairo. Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, who said he will attend, added that the group would also discuss the war in Ukraine. And President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen for the first time received the Commissioner's designate in Brussels, one day after she announced her picks in the European Parliament. Von der Leyen put 6 women among the 8 top positions in her team. Each of the European Union's 27 member states gets a seat at the Commission table. Each new Commissioner will need to pass a hearing in the European Parliament expected in the coming weeks. The EU Parliament can block Commission nominees, with Hungary's Oliver among the candidates EU officials expect to be put under pressure during his hearing. White House said US President Joe Biden is looking forward to bringing India's PM Narendra Modi, Japanese PM Fumio Kishida and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to his hometown Delaware for the Quad Summit set to be held on September 21st. The mega summit also marks Biden's last Quad Summit of his term ahead of the presidential elections in the US.
The president has developed over 3.5 years and more. The president has developed a relationship with these leaders, and so he wanted to continue on that diplomacy, if you will, by bringing them to Wilmington. And I think it's important. I think it's important show of how those relationship has grown. It's important to show how much the president really focuses on foreign policy, and I think that's what you should see from that. It's politics, not just domestic, but also foreign policy is very much local.
Addressing a press briefing, U.S. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications John Kirby said President Biden will meet Quad leaders individually and the four together in a larger plenary session where they will discuss expanding cooperation on various critically important issues. Talking about the issues, Kirby said that China will certainly be high on the agenda at the Quad Summit.
Well, I think it'll certainly be high on the agenda, John. I mean, there's not an opportunity when you get together with these particular leaders, the Indo-Pacific Quad, where in fact, it would be irresponsible if they didn't talk about the challenges that still exist in the region caused by aggressive PRC military action, for instance, unfair trade practices, tensions over the Taiwan Strait. I have no doubt that all those issues will come up.
The USA's House of Representatives has blocked the bill moved by the Republicans to avert an imminent government shutdown. The bill was opposed by some of the Republicans too. The bill was moved by Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican leader, but he could not get the support of 14 lawmakers of his own party. However, the bill got support from 3 lawmakers from Democratic Party. The bill failed by 220 to 202 votes. Unless the House takes up the issue and passes another bill to avert a crisis situation, US could be staring at the prospect of the federal shutdown. The shutdown would see the closure of federal agencies and national parks, limiting public services and furloughing millions of workers without pay just weeks before the election. The bill was moved by Republicans as stopgap arrangement till the budget was passed. The problem with the Republican draft was that it also included a SAVE Act, a Trump-backed measure that requires proof of citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. Democrats said that SAVE Act was not required because it was already illegal for non-citizens to cast a ballot in federal elections. And updates now on Russia-Ukraine conflict. A large-scale Ukrainian drone attack on Russia triggered an earthquake-sized blast at a major arsenal in the Tver region on Wednesday, forcing the evacuation of a nearby town. Satellite images from Maxar Technologies show fire and smoke rising from the ammunition after the attack. The governor of the Tver region, Igor Rudenia, mentioned that Ukrainian drones had been shot down, a fire had broken out and some residents were being evacuated. NASA satellites picked up intense heat sources emanating from an area of about 14 square kilometers at the site. As per the sources, the drone attack had destroyed a warehouse storing missiles, guided bombs and artillery ammunition. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed a very important result in overnight military activity on Russian territory on Wednesday without referring specifically to the warehouse attack.
First of all, I want to thank our soldiers who ensure our Ukrainian long-range capabilities. A very important result was achieved last night on Russian territory, and such actions weaken the enemy. I thank everyone involved. Such precision is truly inspiring. Our special services, the security service, the main intelligence directorate and the special operations forces, thank you.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday said that his victory plan intended to bring peace to Ukraine was now complete after much consultation. On the plan's preparation, Zelensky has given few clues of the contents. indicating that it aims to create terms acceptable to Ukraine. He added that the most important thing now is the determination to implement the plan. Meanwhile, Ukraine's military administration said Russia's counter-offensive to retake Ukrainian-held territory in the Kursk region has been stopped. Russia has repeatedly said it is willing to negotiate, but Zelensky has rejected any negotiation proposals, citing Russian troops occupying nearly 20% of the country's territory. In the September 7 Kentucky highway shooting case, the authorities said that they have found the body of the suspect on Wednesday. Kentucky State Police Commissioner Philip Burnett Jr. said troopers and 2 civilians found a body in the Laurel County, adding the body will be sent to Frankfurt for identification.
Today at approximately 3:30 p.m., London Post, KSP Post, was notified that 2 troopers and 2 civilians had found an unidentified body in the deep brush behind exit 49 in Laurel County. At this time, we still have troopers and personnel out there processing the scene. There were articles associated with the body that at this time we feel is Joseph Couch. Laurel County coroner is there present, and then the body, identified body at this time, will be sent to Frankfurt for positive identification tomorrow.
Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces said they are open for peaceful solutions to a war that has been ongoing for more than 17 months. Army chief said on Wednesday the Sudanese government remains open to all constructive efforts aimed at ending the war before RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo followed suit with a similar sentiment early on Thursday. However, both Burhan and Dagalo traded blame for a failure to bring an end to a conflict that has killed more than 12,000 people since it started in April 2023, accusing each other of committing abuses. They have not outlined specific steps towards reaching a peaceful solution. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We tell you updates on Sri Lanka presidential polls to be held on Friday. Haiti's government on Wednesday created a provisional electoral council. Conservationists are warning of a butterfly emergency as an annual UK survey recorded the lowest ever result in its 14-year history.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. Campaigning for the presidential elections in Sri Lanka ended last night. The silent period will be in force until the election is completed. The frontrunners held rallies in Colombo last evening, making a final push to attract the voters. 38 candidates are in the fray, including incumbent President Ranil Wickremesinghe, leader of opposition and SJB candidate Sajith Premadasa, NPP leader Anura Kumara Disanayake and Namal Rajapaksa from SLPP. Sri Lanka's Election Commission has urged the voters to utilize the period to think independently before they vote. During this period, any form of election campaign activities are prohibited and the police are authorized to arrest any parties that violate election rules. The Commission also said that all election offices established by political parties must be removed by midnight today. The election will be held on Saturday from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. Counting of votes will begin after the completion of voting. With no candidate projected to secure a majority exceeding 50%, it is anticipated that counting will go into second round as well. All right, and DD India's Dr. Ahmed Mufaruki joins us from Colombo to give us more details on what is happening in Sri Lanka ahead of the polls. Hello, Dr. Ahmed. People of Sri Lanka will vote on September 21st. Dr. Ahmed, these elections are quite special, in a way that there are many candidates in the fray this time, around 38, and perhaps one of the toughest political battles for Ranil Wickremesinghe. What is the latest that you're getting for us?
You're absolutely right. You see, these Sri Lankan presidential elections are being held at a very pivotal moment. We recall that 2 years back, Sri Lanka went through the height of the peak of the economic crisis, in which we saw Aragalaya protests where people came out in huge numbers, in thousands probably, and they protested saying the government was not taking effective policies and there was rampant corruption. And under all these pressure, the then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had to resign and flee the country. Thereafter, Ranil Wickremesinghe had taken over as the president for the remaining period of the term for which Gotabaya Rajapaksa was supposed to complete the term. However, yes, you're right. Ranil Wickremesinghe, he will be facing a huge challenge, an uphill battle. He's being opposed, on the other hand, from the leader of opposition by Sajid Premadasa of SJB and NPP leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake. Anura has been very popular among the youth, and Sajid Premadasa has been promising several populist measures. So given all these scenarios, it is going to be a very, very close battle. And analysts and experts have already said that no clear candidate appears to be getting a clear majority of 50% preferential votes. The system here in Sri Lanka is that of preferential votes, wherein the voter has to indicate the top three preferences he or she would want to indicate. And thereafter, what happens is when the counting commences on the same day of voting, the first preferences are normally taken and it is seen if anyone gets 50%. In the eventuality no candidate gets 50%, only the top two candidates will be considered and the remaining votes will be divided among them on the basis of the second and third preferential votes.
Definitely. Dr. Ahmed, I would like to interrupt you here. I was just very keen to ask you that this time around perhaps Ranil Wickremesinghe was thinking that these presidential polls will be a cakewalk, but which is not the case this time around. Perhaps the minority community there in the country is of a different opinion.
You see, minority opinion is something which is very, very important, and they have been, kingmakers in various elections. Even in this election, probably because as the entire island is divided amongst the candidates, even the minority vote is also divided. If we talk about minority, we have to talk about the north and the east, where the Sri Lankan Tamils have been there, the Muslim vote, the Christian vote, the upcountry, the plantation worker vote. So there is quite a lot of division even among these. There are some who are rallying behind incumbent president. There are some who are rallying behind Sajid, and there are some who are hoping that there is a radical change in the form of a new candidate, someone like probably Anura. So given these scenarios, it is a very difficult election as such. And even with regard to the minorities, it is quite difficult. I would like to also add here that although there is a common Tamil candidate in the north, a major number of parties who are in the north are not backing him. They're hoping for an alternative kind of a candidate in the form of either Sajid or Ranil Wickremesinghe himself.
Definitely.
So that is how the scenario is with regard to the minority.
Definitely. And perhaps, Dr. Ahmed, people there are expecting an economic stability in the region. Since silent period is going on there, can you tell us what is the mood like? What are people saying? What are they expecting from these elections this time?
You see, the economic issue has been the most important. That has been the key issue for these elections. Primarily because over the last 2 years, people have had to face a lot of difficulties. Their disposable income had been cut down hugely. Inflation was at a high of 70% at the peak of the economic crisis. However, Sri Lanka has shown some semblance of recovery in the form that inflation is now below 3% mark as of now, as well as if we see the forex reserves are up more than $5.5 billion from a nil level. And given these scenarios, it appears like there is some amount of stability. But the fact of the matter is that the debt still remains, and the debt repayments have to start from 2029 onwards. And this is something which will be on the minds of the new government, as well as currently the voters as well. Because the people will have seen several regimes, and they have seen policies which they believe that were anti-government itself or anti-people, and they feel like this is an opportunity of selecting and electing a person who would be able to guide the island towards a growth path and growth phase. Given that scenario, it appears like people have been contemplating quite a lot, because this has been a very important issue for people, for the island also. So there was anger, there was some amount of disgust with regard to the traditional leaders. So there is a section which prefers someone who has stabilized the ship. There is a section which prefers an alternative, a radical change. There's someone who comes forward and says, I am going to revamp the entire system. I'm going to clean the corruption. So this is where people are, divided with regard to where they would go forward.
Well, definitely, we'll get to know only after the polls who will be the next president of Sri Lanka. But that's some wonderful analysis by you, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there as of now.
Thank you.
North Korea tested new tactical ballistic missiles using super large warheads and modified cruise missiles on Wednesday. Wednesday's tests involved the new tactical ballistic missile Hwasong-po 11 DA-4.5. North Korea's state news agency KCNA reported that the missile testing was led by leader Kim Jong-un, who called for a stronger conventional weapons and nuclear capabilities. The tests to improve weapons capabilities are required because of the grave threat posed by outside forces to the security of the country, Kim was quoted as saying. Last week, North Korea also unveiled a uranium enrichment facility in the first such public report ever. And news from Venezuela now. Venezuela's public ministry announced on Wednesday that arrest warrants are being processed against Argentina's President Javier Milei and 2 other officials over allegedly stealing an aircraft. Attorney General assigned 2 prosecutors to issue the arrest warrants for President Milei, President Secretary Karina Milei, and Security Minister Patricia Bullrich. The officials stand accused of the theft and dismantling a seized Boeing 747-300 aircraft, which Argentina confiscated in Buenos Aires in 2022, suspecting it of having links to international terrorist groups linked to Iran. Argentina handed the aircraft to the United States in February. The U.S. Department of Justice said that U.S.-origin Boeing aircraft is subject to sanctions as its sale from Iran violates U.S. export laws. Venezuelan opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez said he was coerced into signing a document recognizing President Nicolas Maduro as the winner of the country's contested election as a condition for letting him flee to Spain. Gonzalez is currently in Spain, where he was granted political asylum earlier this month following the issue of a warrant for his arrest in Venezuela.
Residencia del embajador de España.
While at the residence of a Spanish ambassador, the President of National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, and the Vice President of Republic, Delcy Rodriguez, showed up with a document that I would have to sign to allow me to leave the country. In other words, either I signed it or I would face the consequences. There were very tense hours of coercion, blackmail, and pressure. At those moments, I considered that I could be more useful, free than in jail, unable to fulfill the task entrusted to me by the sovereign. A document produced under coercion is vitiated by absolute nullity due to a serious defect in consent.
Mali's security situation remained unclear on Wednesday after insurgents attacked an elite police training academy and other strategic areas, killing trainees, overrunning parts of the airport and setting the presidential jet alight. The army said in series of ambushes and explosions across military-run Niger killed at least 12 soldiers and wounded 30. Flights resumed on Wednesday morning to Bamako's main airport, where much of the violence took place. Residents of the capital resumed their daily activities, including in vicinity of the police academy. The army said the ground and air response killed more than 100 terrorists. Now, Haiti's government on Wednesday created a provisional electoral council, marking the most concrete step towards reviving the electoral process in years after political turmoil and later violence thwarted previous attempts. The council created on Wednesday already has representatives for 7 seats that represent religious groups, journalists, farmers and unions. The council will be tasked with laying out the legal framework to hold elections and then planning them. The Caribbean nation is set to hold elections by 2026, a decade after they were last held in 2016. Under normal circumstances, elections would have been held every 5 years, but an already rocky political situation in Haiti was exacerbated by the power vacuum caused by assassination of President Jovenel Moise in 2021, and the nation has gone without a president since. Rapper and music mogul Sean Didi Comms will remain in jail after he was denied bail for a second time on sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors accused Comms of using his fame to coerce women into demeaning sexual acts as part of a long-running scheme of sex trafficking and racketeering. Comms pleaded not guilty in Manhattan Federal Court hours after the 14-page indictment was unsealed. Comms faces a sentence of up to life in prison and a minimum of 15 years if convicted of the 3 felony counts. The indictment did not specify how many women were alleged victims. It contained no allegation that Comms himself directly engaged in unwanted sexual contact, though he was accused of assaulting them. Prosecutors said Comms and his associates used bribery and violence to keep his conduct secret. All right, now some weather updates. Firefighters continue to battle wildfires raging near Portugal's Agueda as more people are forced to flee their homes across the country due to dozens of blazes. Authorities confirm that much needed reinforcements arrived on Wednesday from Spain and Morocco, offering some relief as cooler weather improved conditions to fight the flames. At least 7 people have died due to the blazes in Aveiro and Viseu districts, with dozens of houses destroyed and tens of thousands of hectares of forest and scrubland consumed. Authorities have mobilized more than 5,000 firefighters. Peruvian President Dina Boluarte has declared a state of emergency in 3 regions affected by devastating forest fires. The decision was taken after the forest fire have burned through swathes of the nation's Andean and Amazonian croplands and left 16 dead. Speaking at the government palace, the president said that heavily forested lorested regions of Amazonas, San Martin and Ucayali will be under the new emergency measures following several requests from local authorities for more resources to be allocated to fight the fires. North Carolina government declared a state of emergency in southeastern counties after an unnamed storm slammed the coast in what some residents said was a once-in-a-century event. Residents in the coastal town of Carolina Beach said that they were taken by surprise by the powerful storm system that dumped more than 20 inches of rain in a short period of time. A coastal flood advisory remains in place as residents wait for the waters to recede. Nigeria's Hydrological Services Agency has warned of a potential flooding in 11 states after Cameroon said it was starting to release water from one of its largest dams. The warning comes as Nigeria is already grappling with severe floods in northeastern Borno state, where a dam burst its walls after heavy rains that have also caused floods in Cameroon, Chad, Mali and Niger. A national butterfly emergency has been declared in UK after a citizen count showed a hugely concerning decline in numbers. Overall, participants spotted just 7 butterflies on average per 15 minutes, a reduction of almost 50% on last year's average of 12 and the lowest in the 14-year history of the big butterfly count. This year's fall in butterfly numbers is thought to have been made worse by the wet spring coupled with the late arrival of summer heat. And still to come on Didi India News Hour. India's cabinet clears the proposal to hold simultaneous elections in India. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav says polls would be held in 2 phases. India denounces UN report on elections as unwarranted and out of touch, citing bias and lack of objectivity. Over 61% voter turnout recorded in the first phase of Jammu and Kashmir Assembly polls.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on Didi India.
You're watching Didi India News On. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj and a quick recap of the headlines. Second wave of explosion in southern Lebanon, raising fears of wider conflict. Israel declares new phase of war. Ukraine claims Russian advancement in Kursk region has been stopped. President Zelensky says victory plan is fully prepared. US Fed cuts interest rates by 0.5 percentage points in a first since 2020, signaling end to its inflation fight. Nature's fury engulfs parts of world. Wildfires in Portugal and Peru wreak havoc. Flood upends normal life across vast swathes in the USA, Europe and Africa. India all set to face Bangladesh in Test series in the southern city of Chennai. Visitors yet to register a win in Test against India. The Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir voted in its first assembly election in a decade on Wednesday. The overall voter turnout in the Union Territory during the first phase of the assembly election was recorded at 58.85%. The highest voter turnout so far has been recorded in the Kishtwar district of Jammu and Kashmir with 77.23%, while the lowest has been in Pulwama with 43.87%. Meanwhile, campaigning for the remaining phase of elections are in full swing. Political leaders holding rallies across Jammu and Kashmir. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also hold rallies in Srinagar and Katra region of Jammu. And Didi India's Tahir Nadim Khan joins us from Jammu and Kashmir's Baderwa to give us more details on what is happening and what happened after the first phase of elections in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Hi Tahir, good morning. Elections for the first phase done in Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Around 58.85 was the overall voter turnout campaigning. Tahir, we all know that these are very special polls, happening first time after the abrogation of Article 370 and assembly polls first time in a decade. What is the latest that you're getting for us? What was people's mood when they voted?
Well, Siddharth, the mood was upbeat everywhere. As we see, the turnout was tremendous, and nobody has expected that this much of turnout will be there in the first phase of election, because the kind of circumstances are right now here, not because of any threat from any side, but the people over here in this season, they are normally cattle raiders, 30,000 of that. They are in high altitude meadows, but still they came out, they came down to their villages to cast their vote. Mood was very high. Even students, dozen, even hundreds of students came who are studying elsewhere in the country. They came from Punjab and Bangalore and other parts of the country, especially to vote, to exercise their franchise of vote. That is something no one has anticipated or no one has ever seen before. That was the kind of mood. Even we saw several scenes that elderly people coming to the polling station, although they were given the opportunity, they were given the facility to cast their vote from their home through home voting, but they denied and said they will come to the polling station because these elections are being held after a gap of 10 years, and they were so enthusiastic they decided to come to the polling station.
Tahir, certainly Tahir, a testament to the fact that people are now fearless in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Campaigning is going on in full swing. You know, they campaigned also for the second phase as well. Campaigning is going on, and people are now fearless. They are coming out and they are voting. They are not scared of anything, unlike the earlier times.
Obviously, this is the testimony. As you said, the Kishtwar district recorded highest voter turnout, and in Jammu region in the last couple of years or last 7-8 years, the maximum terrorist activities were reported from Kishtwar district only. And the way they voted, it clearly shows and indicates they are fearless. They are there is no fear among the people, and they want to democracy return in this part of the country. That is why they came and voted in such large number. That is the testimony that people are fearless. And the way multi-tier security was put in place in everywhere, in all the polling stations, be it in high altitude at the height of 12 to 13,000 above sea level in Kishtwar district, in Chatru, Madhava, Wadwan, even Padar, Machel, where there is no road connectivity, and it took 3 to 4 days to reach to those polling stations. But still, the kind of voter turnout was seen in those areas is tremendous. That clearly indicates that people love democracy. They want the democratic process to flourish in this area.
Definitely. And Tahir, like I say always, from bullet to ballot, the scenario has completely changed over the past few years, and especially after the abrogation of Article 370. Tahir, can you just tell us how is campaigning going on for the second phase, now that the first phase is over and people are campaigning in full swing? People campaigned in full swing, and second phase is on the cards now. How's the mood? How's the campaigning going on? What are people expecting from these elections, and how are the political leaders campaigning? Give us some details regarding that.
Well, political leaders are upbeat. The way, as I said, the voter turnout has come out in first phase. Obviously, the leaders and even political parties, leaders and even independents are pushing hard for the second phase as well. They have seen the cutthroat competition, the way leaders and political representatives of each and every party reach to every voter, be it residing in high altitude meadows, single small hamlets. By reaching there, it clearly indicates for the second and third phase, the campaigning which has started already there is in full swing. They want to reach every voter because they know the competition is going to be very hard. The margin of victory will be very low. That is why they are trying to woo each and every voter. The atmosphere is electric everywhere, and as you have seen, the Prime Minister himself is visiting today Kashmir Valley to address the political rally, which is first a political rally of his in Kashmir Valley. Although he has visited a few days back in Doda, this has set the temperature high because if you see the earlier these narratives of National Conference, when Umar Abdullah said that he will not contest the election in a union territory and he will withdraw from the election, but later he decided against it, and now he is contesting the elections. By now the Prime Minister is coming, his second visit during this election, from the day election has been on the second rally. The mood has become even higher of the people because they know if Prime Minister is coming here to campaign for the party, that shows that it is a very serious thing. And if Prime Minister is coming here to campaign for his party, that means this is a very big thing, and that has transformed into such that mood and the turnout in first phase.
Definitely, Tahir. I agree with you. It's a big thing. Assembly elections happening after 10 years, first time after abrogation of Article 370, like I just mentioned. But thank you so much for your analysis. We'll leave it there as of now. In an apparent big push to the electoral reforms in India, the Union Cabinet has given a nod to the proposal for simultaneous elections across the country. This means aligning polls for both the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. The big decision announced by government follows months of extensive deliberation and comes after a high-level committee chaired by former President Ram Nath Kovind submitted its report on One Nation, One Election plan. Didi India's Sakal Bhatt gets you more in the report that follows.
The Union Cabinet of India, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, approved the implementation of the One Nation, One Election in India, which proposes simultaneous Lok Sabha and Assembly elections. The key decision announcement on Wednesday followed the presentation of a comprehensive report from a high-level committee. Elaborating on the widespread support with 80% respondents backing new system, India's INB Minister Ashnavi Vaishnav shared the merits of One Nation, One poll concept.
एक्सटेंसिव फीडबैक से आया था कि देयर इज अ वाइड स्प्रेड सपोर्ट फॉर साइमल्टेनियस इलेक्शंस इन द कंट्री. देयर इज अ वाइड स्प्रेड सपोर्ट फॉर साइमल्टेनियस इलेक्शंस इन द कंट्री. इसीलिए एनडीए सरकार की कैबिनेट ने आज सर्वसम्मति से इन रिकमेंडेशंस को एक्सेप्ट किया और इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन 2 फेजेस में होगा, जैसा कि कमेटी के रिकमेंडेशंस में है.
The polling in One Nation, One Election system will take place in phased manner. It will have simultaneous polls which will be held in 2 phases. Phase 1 will cover Lok Sabha and Assembly elections, while Phase 2 will cover local body polls. The local body polls will be covered within 100 days of the completion of Phase 1. The preparation of common electoral roll and voter ID cards will be done by Election Commission of India, and also the electoral roll preparation will be in consultation with the state election authorities. Let us now understand what are the long-term benefits of the One Nation, One poll concept when implemented. There will be reduction of costs of conducting polls, which will lead to saving of financial resources and also reduce the administrative burden and also the burden on security forces. It will lead to improved voter turnout because multiple polls also hinders development. Multiple polls also take polls on criminal justice system. So One Nation, One election will have benefits in terms of improving overall development scenario.
This is a landmark decision of the Narendra Modi government. Moreover, this is an election promise of the National Democratic Alliance. So such a decision will have far-reaching effects in the election process of our country, because that can save a lot of public money. The government can give more attention in the development of the country.
It may be recalled a high-level committee was constituted by Central Government of India on holding simultaneous elections under the chairmanship of Shri Ram Nath Kovind, former President of India, on 2nd September 2023. The committee submitted its report on 14th of March 2024 after inviting suggestions from various stakeholders, including the political parties. Experts on law, including former Chief Justices of India and former Chief Justices of High Court, former Chief Election Commissioners of India and State Election Commissioners were invited for interaction in person with the committee. The committee, after extensive meetings, submitted its recommendations to the government. The government had asserted that One Nation, One election is one of the key promises to be implemented during Prime Minister Modi's 3.0 tenure, and with Wednesday's announcement, the Modi government has walked the talk. Sakal Bhatt's report for Didi India.
And India denounced UN report on Indian elections. Delivering her remarks at the 57th session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva, Indian envoy Anupama Singh termed the annual report presented by the Working Group on Enforced and Involuntary Disappearances, as well as the thematic report on elections, unwarranted and out of touch with reality, leading to concerns of bias and lack of objectivity.
As regards elections, we are proud to have successfully concluded the world's biggest electoral exercise and elected a government that reflects the will of the people. Thus, we find the comments in the report unwarranted and out of touch with reality, leading to concerns of bias and lack of objectivity. We would urge the working group not to fall prey to motivated political narratives while preparing their report, and make greater efforts to uphold the code of conduct governing their functioning and working methods.
All right, and still to come on DD India News Hour. Well, former US President Donald Trump says Fed rate cut shows the economy is very bad. India's men and women teams continued their impressive run in Chess Olympiad. Kerala's hills turn blue as Neela Kurinji flowers bloom again.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. On to business news now. The US Federal Reserve has slashed interest rates by 50 basis points, marking its first cut in over 4 years. The Fed announced in a statement that policymakers voted 11-1 in favor of lowering the US Central Bank's benchmark lending rate to between 4.75% and 5%. They also penciled an additional half point of cuts before the end of this year and an added percentage point of cuts in 2025. This signals the start of an easing cycle. Starting from March 2022, the Fed has raised cuts consecutively for 11 times to combat inflation not seen in 40 years. US stocks gained following the release of the statement and updated quarterly economic projections. While the US dollar fell against a basket of currencies, US Treasury yields fell. And at his press conference, Fed chair called the rate reduction a recalibration of central bank policy, noting that the Fed will continue to make decisions meeting by meeting.
Our patient approach over the past year has paid dividends. Inflation is now much closer to our objective, and we have gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2%. As inflation has declined and the labor market has cooled, the upside risks to inflation have diminished and the downside risks to employment have increased. We now see the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals as roughly in balance. And we are attentive to the risks to both sides of our dual mandate.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has his own take on the US Federal Reserve's rate cut. Former US President said that the Fed rate cut shows the economy is very bad and suggested that the Federal Reserve was playing politics. Trump made the comments during a visit to cryptocurrency-themed bar in Manhattan, where he was briefly shown how to transact Bitcoin and signed memorabilia for the patrons.
I guess it shows the economy is very bad to cut it by that much. Assuming they're not just playing politics, the economy would be very bad, or they're playing politics, one or the other. But it was a big cut.
Moving on, India is now exporting defense equipment to 90 countries. In this context, the responsibility of quality certification has increased tremendously as the entire focus is now on the Make in India campaign. DD India's Vishal Barristo speaks to the Director General Quality Assurance in the Defense Ministry. Let's listen in.
The effectiveness of our armed forces depends on the quality and reliability of our weapons and equipments. And I have with me Mr. N. Manoharan. He is the DG Quality Assurance. Let's talk to him and find out how important is the role of quality assurance.
As far as DGQA is concerned, we are the premier quality assurance organization of Ministry of Defense. We cover entire product range, whatever is procured by the army. And in addition to that, we also do the quality assurance for the paramilitary forces and the state police forces also.
So can you tell us the parameters, different parameters as far as the quality assurance for the weapons and equipments are concerned?
Yeah, parameters of the quality assurance of weapons and other items. Basically, how we go by the assurance process. The process of assurance starts from the induction of the product. Before the army is going to procure any item, so normally qualitative requirements are defined by the army. So when the qualitative requirements at that stage itself, we as a technical authority and having a long experience of more than 6 decades, we give a lot of guidance to them on the various aspects of technical requirements and what can be made into a qualitative requirements and the kind of a test which is needed in the weapons and equipments.
When we talk about the different stages of testing for quality assurance, how long does it take for a weapon to finally get the certificate?
This is one of the important area where private industries, also defense public sectors, everyone wants the timeline which is needed for the quality assurance process has to be done, for which we have already brought a lot of exercise to reduce the timeline. So what we are now doing is that we are doing a concurrent quality assurance processes where there is when a manufacturer himself is doing certain tests, we are going then participating with them and we verify at that stage itself.
There's a lot of talk about Make in India campaign. Recently, the defense minister said that India is exporting defense equipments to 90 countries. Yeah. So the role of private sector and the role of DGQA.
We have taken a lot of efforts in this direction to promote the industries to come up with the latest technologies and production, for which a lot of schemes have been launched by the Ministry of Defence. So some of the schemes are self-certification and green channel certification. So self-certification, green channel certification is that industry don't have to every time they do some production, they don't have to come to the quality assurance agency and get it certified. So once their system is certified and they get the certification, self-certification from the DGQA, so they are able to supply the product directly to the army without involvement of the DGQA. So that gets a timeline and it gives a boost to them to directly go to the army and supply the item.
So there you heard from the Director General Quality Assurance, indeed a very important role the DGQA has to play. And yes, India is fast becoming an exporter, as the Defence Minister said, exporting to 90 countries. With cameraman Naveen in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for Didi India.
And you're watching Didi India News. Our time now for sport. And in cricket, India is all set to face Bangladesh in Test series that begins on Thursday in Chennai. Bangladesh are all set to face a strong challenge against Rohit Sharma and company, who are the strongest side in the ICC Test Championship 2023-25 currently. On the other hand, Bangladesh, led by Najmul Hossain Shanto, would seek their first ever victory against India. Historically, India has been the superior team in the Test format against Bangladesh. India's men and women teams continued their impressive run as India posted victories at the 7th round of Chess Olympiad in Budapest. India won their 7th round tie against China after D. Gukesh defeated Ding's replacement Wei Yi on the top board for China. The rest of the 3 India versus China games ended in draws, so the fate of the matchup rested on this game. Meanwhile, the Indian women now lead Poland, Kazakhstan and France by a full 2 points after they moved to a perfect 14-on-14 score with a 3-1 win over their main title rivals, Georgia. India's young stars Vaishali Ramesh Babu and Vantika Agarwal grabbed wins with the black pieces despite Vantika being down to under a minute by move 21. 4 rounds still remain in the tournament before it comes to an end. India's men's hockey team returned home to a grand welcome on Thursday morning after winning the Asian Champions Trophy title for the record 5th time. This was also the 2nd consecutive time India has won the trophy after the team defeated China on its home soil in a thrilling match. In the last edition, the men's hockey team had defeated Malaysia in the final. Take a look. The Indian men's hockey team received a warm welcome at New Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport in the wee hours of Thursday. The team has shown immense grit and determination to win the Asian Champions Trophy title for a record 5th time. The Indian side, led by captain Harmanpreet Singh, secured the trophy after beating hosts China 1-0 in a thrilling final on Tuesday.
हर एक जीत स्पेशल रहती है हमारी टीम के लिए और लास्ट टाइम भी ये चैंपियन थे, इस बार भी, क्योंकि बैक टू बैक जीतना टूर्नामेंट बहुत बड़ी बात होती है हमारे लिए एंड टीम का जो बूस्ट है, कॉन्फिडेंस अप करता है थोड़ा. तो आई थिंक जितने यंगस्टर गए हैं, मेरे को हम सबको उनके लिए ज़्यादा खुशी है क्योंकि उनका फर्स्ट टूर्नामेंट था हमारे साथ ऐसे, और गोल्ड मेडल जीतना उनके लिए उनको एक अच्छा कॉन्फिडेंस मिलेगा और पुश मिलेगा. तो काफ़ी स्पेशल है ये विक्ट्री जो हमारी.
Just a month after their success at the 2024 Paris Olympics, which saw them secure their second consecutive bronze medal, the side went unbeaten throughout the tournament and registered their place in the knockout stage in emphatic fashion. According to the team's ace player Harmanpreet Singh, working on all the shortcomings in time was the biggest secret of this success. He also said that final match was not easy for them. The blooming of Neelakurinji flowers has transformed the Nilgiri Hills in Tamil Nadu into a breathtaking spectacle. The flowers, which bloom once in 12 years, has made mountains wrapped in a thick blue blanket. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.